Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, at 12:30 with another exciting, hopefully, subject on fibromyalgia or other related health problems. And today is very, very interesting because, again, because I hear this so often from patients and also from people when I discuss fibromyalgia with them. And the topic is fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, you don't look sick, or how many times have you heard it's all in your head, or that seems to be wrong with you, and all the tests came back and they're all negative, and so it must be in your head, or a variety of different things. Historically, and I've mentioned this before, it goes all the way back to biblical times. The symptoms of fibromyalgia, 2800 BC, the Book of Gilgamesh, where it talks about the weeping of the body and pain all over. There's throughout history, again, there's multiple threads, and that's what makes it so difficult for patients, or excuse me, doctors, to actually diagnose, because over the centuries, literally, and I go all the way back to biblical times, the information is there, but they didn't have computers and phones and things like that. So a doctor in England maybe had no idea what a doctor in Scotland was doing, or a doctor in some other part of Europe. And as we get closer and closer historically, same thing in America. It could be a doctor in California really didn't have that much information about a doctor in New York and his or her findings, so to speak. The scientists and a variety of different people finding different things, but never could put the threads together, so to speak. And with that, there were a number of different names for this condition. Not only rheumatoid arthritis, but also something called de Castries syndrome that started in the Civil War and went all the way to World War II. Neurasthenia, let's see, fibrositis, which was then later changed to fibromyalgia. That was about the closest that ever came to fibromyalgia. Neurasthenia, also a condition that a lot of doctors really took advantage of with patients, especially female patients. We did a lot of unneeded and uncalled for surgeries. But anyway, not until the 1970s were these threads actually combined in research, and it still took a number of years where they did a number of different studies and so forth. But by the 70s, the communication across country and different parts of Europe and so forth was so much easier as far as to get information together. And so all of the studies from the 70s actually ended up in the 1990 research paper at the American College of Rheumatology that actually named the actual condition fibromyalgia itself. However, it didn't. It still took. That was 1990. It still took. Let me think for a minute. Over 20 years for the National Institute of Health. I think it was 2011. To actually accept fibromyalgia as a syndrome, at least. And I've talked about syndromes versus conditions. A syndrome seems to be an easy way for insurance companies to question what you have, versus the fibromyalgia condition, where it's an actual condition, and I've always treated it as such, and I treat my patients accordingly. That's very, very important for the patients to understand that it's not some kind of a questionable thing, and that's very, very important. Now, I follow the researcher, Dr. R. Paul St. Amand, and his findings. He actually is 90 years old, and he's been actually working on fibromyalgia because he's an internist and endocrinologist, and he works out of UCLA Research Center. He has his own clinic, and he has been working on fibromyalgia about 60 years. And another reason why is that because of his medical abilities, he has fibromyalgia. And he got very, very frustrated not being able to help his patients properly. So he spent most of his life, about 60 years, actually studying and evaluating and finding answers. And I use his protocol, and then I added some things onto the protocol to help quicken the symptomatology being reduced. So the actual fibromyalgia itself has many, many different um, definitions, so to speak. But keep in mind that fibromyalgia is something that is genetic. You're born with it, and it doesn't show up often except subtly. Like you may be tired, a little bit more tired than most people, or maybe a little bit more achy. Most people, you'll hear it from doctors, as I mentioned before, when you go to them when you're younger. It's growing pains and so forth because of the problems with all of the different other conditions that mimic fibromyalgia. But the multiple symptoms in itself are magnified by some form of physical, emotional, or chemical trauma. And that is what really triggers fibromyalgia to a much higher degree, so to speak, a higher degree of symptomatology. And that's most important. Now, the most common symptoms for fibromyalgia the most common are fatigue, along with sleep problems, pain, overall pain, whole body pain that moves all over the body, and fibrofog, and that's because of the fatigue factor. A lot of people that have fibromyalgia have a very difficult time concentrating and doing jobs and so forth. And the higher level the job you have, the more difficult it is to concentrate and get the job done. Yes, you are sick. You're sick in many ways because you have so many different symptoms that you have that are going throughout your body. And that it can be very, very frustrating in itself because they change from day to day. Or they may be magnified by, and I've talked about this before, because of different weather conditions. In Arizona, we've had quite a few storms, a lot more than normal in October. And most of the fibromyalgia patients that are on the protocol feel these changes. Or if you're not on the protocol, you know you're going to feel them. You're going to have more aches and pains and more problems that you would normally have. Arizona is one of the best places, actually, if you have fibromyalgia, to live, because really we only have 2 seasons and we don't have a lot of rain. Our seasons are moderate and hot, and that's about it. But rain does affect the pain aspects or whatever you may have going through your body in itself. For those fortunate people that have support, that's extremely important, whether it be your significant other, support groups, a doctor. That's why I think I and Dr. Seuneman have so many patients come into him, because we listen to the patients. We understand we may not have the pain. He has fibromyalgia. He understands it a lot better than myself. But I empathize with the patients. I listen to what they have to say. I write down a lot of information. I spend a lot of time with fibromyalgia patients because I know that they have a difficult time explaining all the different things that are going on in their life and how it adversely affects them. I believe support groups are important. However, in a lot of the fibromyalgia patients I've had, they'll go to support groups, try to spread the word, and support groups, they would come back and say that they're so negative that there's no positive vibe in there, and they prefer not going back to support groups. Support groups are very, very important to at least let you know that you're not alone, you're not by yourself, and there are other people that are having the same symptoms or very, very similar symptoms, or maybe even worse than you. And that's important, that you know that you're not by yourself. But the constant negativity can also be a real drain on you. So you have to understand that you have to be positive enough to understand that, number one, you have a condition. It is treatable. We treat it all the time in our clinic. If you don't believe me, just get in touch with us in my clinic, and I'll give you patients that have gone through the protocol, and they'll tell you how they feel and how wonderful they feel. One of the first ones that I had, I think it was 2003, when I actually started, when I was into Dr. Seuneman's protocol. This one has been safe and healthy all this time. She was a nurse that worked at the hospital, but because of fibromyalgia, she was only a training nurse. She couldn't do the regular nursing work. And I put her on this protocol, and within 6 months, she was a different person, being able to function, live a normal life. She actually quit her job, went back to school, got a minister's degree, and now she ministers to patients in hospitals. Because that's what she really wanted to do. I could give you more and more stories of people, and go to YouTube, many, I believe, or Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and you'll see on there some of the people that have gone through the protocol. So you're not by yourself. A lot of you have been misdiagnosed for so long, and that's very, very frustrating. You have to find a doctor that specializes in fibromyalgia, is willing to listen to you and work with you with your program. And that's important because every fibromyalgia patient is different, because you not only have fibromyalgia, but you have other conditions, whether it be osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, a variety of different conditions and so forth. And fibro makes those all worse, and it magnifies and makes your symptoms very agitating and irritable, that you seem like you cannot control things. But you can if you're working with correct people. And the support, I always mention, the support of fibromyalgia patients, especially significant others, they're like angels to you, because they've sacrificed and they're much more understanding than most people around you. That you tell them you have fibromyalgia and they look at you and say, like I said, you don't look sick. I mean, what's with you? Where are you hurting? And when you start explaining to them all the aches and pains, they're probably going to try to register in their mind, what are they talking about? They don't look sick at all. If you don't have it, if you don't have fibromyalgia, or if you don't have some really serious condition, it's very difficult for people to understand what you're going through. You do have a right to be angry. You do have a right to be depressed at times, but you also have to have a right to understand that there are answers to your condition. It's not a death knell. It's not like cancer, okay? It's something that can be treated. And you have the capabilities of working this program so that you help yourself through this. A lot of it is take-home information if you understand what you have to do. So this is Dr. Ken Muich from Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and reiterating some information, hopefully bringing out new information, that you do have a health condition with fibromyalgia. It is accepted. For those people that don't accept it, don't understand it, you just have to say the word next and find somebody that does, and spend your time with them rather than the negativity that surrounds you. That's just going to make a lot of things worse in your life. We are here to help you. We know we can help you. We're here to answer your questions. Fibromyalgia Wellness Center has been in existence since 1990, and we're very happy to tell you and let you know that what we do is very, very successful. I want to thank you so very, very much. And I'm here to help in any way possible to help you understand how we might be able to help you through this condition. Thank you very, very much. Next Monday, 12:30, I'll be covering another subject. Just check and see what it might be on. Or sometimes it might just be open, where I actually will surprise you with very, very interesting subjects. This is, I believe, number 37. 37 weeks now that I've been doing these, each one different, and each one has been saved at the Fibro Wellness Center. And so please feel free to check on these, all these different areas that we have covered concerning fibromyalgia and some other related subjects concerning the health of individuals, let's put it that way. Again, have a wonderful week, enjoy, be safe, and we will see you next week, Monday, 12:30. Tell your friends, family, and doctors to join us for the discussion. Bye-bye now.